Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another show. I am detecting a little bit of a... looks like my microphone's a little hot. Let me pot that down a little bit. I am detecting a little bit of a network issue. I don't know what that's all about. We do have kids doing school from home because of the current health situation out there, because of the virus activity in the area. So it could be because they're on their laptop streaming school-related materials. If the stream starts dropping and acting weird, please let me know. But I'm getting notifications about it, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's actually affecting the stream all that much. Little frame rate loss here and there. Hello, Mr. Magoo. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. We're going to do some testing today. I've got an app that I wrote a while back, and you probably all remember it from the show. It's Blazor. And let's see. Let's control F5 into this guy and take a look at it. And it looks like my screen is sharing pretty good here. Just need to get the browser up on it. So I've got my application up here. It's using Blazor, server-side Blazor. I chose that for this project to kind of kick the tires on server-side. I do a lot of WebAssembly, and I thought it'd be nice to check out server-side Blazor, and I actually got to like server-side Blazor quite a bit when I did this project. Highly recommend it if you're doing line of business applications and you have kind of a known quantity for your users. You're behind a firewall, that sort of thing. You don't have a lot of disconnects and that type of stuff. So if you have a solid network and you can handle server-side Blazor, it is a very fast way to do development. That's what I found anyway using it. I've updated the project recently to the latest versions of .NET and Telerik UIs and all that good stuff. And I noticed some odd behavior, so I started adding some tests to my project. And I didn't quite fully explore all the testing options yet. I kind of left that up to do on the show. So I thought that would be something good to cover. We've done a little bit of unit testing on the show before. But I've got some new tools in my toolbox that I'm going to use today. We'll go over all the different options. So first things first, one of the areas I saw some issues with is when I create a new trip. I have this form that flies out, and I've got several drop-down boxes in here. Some of those drop-down boxes just simply were not populating. Another problem was if you selected something like Earth and there was the first option chosen here, if I changed my selections like this to where I'm selecting something that's already down in the arrivals location, I can't exactly take off and arrive from the same location. So it would pick the wrong choices from the drop-down boxes. And it turns out there's a little bit of an issue that we're tracing to see if it is a Blazor framework issue or a Telerik UI issue. But it has to do with the fact that the drop-down boxes are bound to not only the text, but they are bound to a ID value. So I have kind of like a key value pair. Hey, Eagle, how are you doing? Welcome back. So I have kind of a key value pair situation going on here where like Mars is, well, let's take the second one here, for example, because I have multiple here. So Cape Canaveral is like ID of 0, and then I have 1, 2, 3, and so on. And Mount Sharp here is also ID of 0. And if I were to swap like this, if I pick Earth and it defaults now to Cape Canaveral, what was happening is Blazor sees that both, it may be Blazor, it may be Telerik UI for Blazor. We haven't pinpointed which one it is yet. But the change detection says both of those things are ID of 0. So no change has happened. So don't invoke a state has changed because it's still the value of 0. So there's no value changed event, even though I have significantly changed the data bound list behind it. But the ID is still 0, so the system is like, yeah, it's still the same thing. So the text wouldn't update. So I've changed this to now use the text and then do a reverse lookup. It's kind of messy. Not too super terrible. It's just not ideal. But that fixed the bug. So I was like, I better start wrapping some unit tests around this stuff. That way I can catch it. I can catch it without having to grind away at refreshing my app and all that. Now, unfortunately, the situation I just talked about here with the IDs swapping, that wouldn't actually be caught in the type of unit testing I was doing. So there's that too. So I've abstracted the logic away from that form into a view model. So I'm using an MVVM pattern there on that view model, and the view model doesn't abide by all of the UI behaviors that are part of the Blazor component lifecycle. So it doesn't care, and it would work fine in my unit tests as well. And my unit tests were passing, and the UI just wasn't updating. So I need to throw some B unit tests around this, Eagle, and see how those respond. But I also have another tool that I'm going to show today. This is, of course, a shameless plug. I won't be shy about it. This is Test Studio. It's something I used a while back myself before I joined the company. But I work for Progress that makes this tool. And this is kind of like a E2E type test. It has a lot of features that even I frankly haven't used this in a little while. I want to get back into it, and there's just so many cool things it can do that I can't even hit the tip of the iceberg today, but I'll show you kind of a gist of what it does. So we'll run through that real quick, and then we'll do some B unit as well. So this thing is really neat. I'm going to go to my application. I don't want to run this in debug mode. The ideal situation here is I want to run this in the console, so it's just always running. The application is always running in the background, just like it would be on a server. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to jump to my file explorer here and pop open my CLI. And I'm going to say .NET run. And it's going to run the Blazport application in the background. So we should see that application spin up. Eagle, you might get a kick out of this. This is pretty neat stuff, man. I know you like testing, so you'll have to give me some feedback here and let me know what you think. I'm going to grab this port. Actually, I think I already have it in the UI for the user interface of the test environments, but I'm going to grab it just in case I need it. So essentially, we should be able to go to our browser and pop up this here, and I'm getting a certificate thing. I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's view that. So now I can verify that Blazor's running. Real quick here, just a little housekeeping. I'm going to open up my chat program in another browser, because when I do the testing, it's going to close all of my Chrome instances. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's go to the test environment, and we'll use IE for this. So let me close these windows here. I'm using Chrome to monitor chat. I don't want to lose my chat. So we'll just go ahead and spin up a brand new environment here. And let's just double check IE real quick. Or not IE, I keep calling it IE. Edge. I meant Edge. You caught me. Let's see, local host was what, 5001? Yeah, I know it's not safe, really. So 5001, click new trip, I get my UI, it's all good. So verify that I can hit the app anyway from there. So watch, this is really cool. This is something that we can do. I'm in Telerik Test Studio. This is a paid thing. So again, this is some shameless promotion from me, but it is a paid commercial product. But wait till you see what this thing does. I'm going to hit add a new web test. And this is more E2E stuff. It's not quite unit testing. And let's just call this sample test. And now I have a sample test that has no steps in it. Notice that there's no steps at all in this. I'm going to change my preferred browser for this to Edge because, again, my chat is running, and this will close all of your browser instances so it runs without hitting any issues with you having like external plugins and stuff open. And I'm going to hit record here. So I'm going to hit record, and there's my localhost 5001. I should be able to hit record, and it's going to pop open a brand new browser instance, and it's waiting for an extension. So I need to get that extension real quick. Let's set that up. I've got this all configured for Chrome and not Edge. So let's see. docs.telerik.com. I need to go find that extension real quick. Test Studio. If you have a Telerik license, there is a dev version of Test Studio, by the way. So you may already have a license to it if you have a DevCraft Ultimate, I believe. Let's see, installation, prerequisites. It's not what I want. Install. I need my browser plugins. I'm being lazy. I'm just scanning through docs real quick. Activate. Configure browsers. Duh. There we go. Configure IE Chrome. So I need to go and install this Chrome extension. After a timeout, I'll get a link to this. Okay, I didn't let it time out. I got impatient. So let's run that again. Launching the recorder. Oh, it was already open. Let's try that again. Record. Localhost. So we're going to have to wait a few seconds for this to time out. Again, I have this all set up for Chrome already. So you get to see some of the setup experience, maybe. That's not a bad thing. Basically, you install the UI environment, and then there's a plugin that attaches your UI to the browser. And the plugin is really powerful. So you'll see in a minute here when I get it installed that it can inspect UI elements and it can verify that text is there. It can click buttons. It can do all sorts of stuff. And we can automate some interactive tests with this thing. And what's really cool is it records everything like a kind of like a macro. So we can walk through it without having to code anything. I like having the option to code, which is also there, but not having to code all these steps. Usually these steps that are pretty. Oh, really? This took me right to the same link I was just at. Extension impulse solve procedure. All I needed to do was click that button all along. Add. So I guess IE supports Chrome extensions. We're going to dump that in. And then I'm supposed to click on Calibrate Browser. Internet Explorer, not calibrated. Edge, not calibrated. Calibrate. Yes. And see there, it prompted me. It said it's going to close my windows. That's what I was talking about earlier. Okay, so that works. Now I should be able to record. Let's go ahead and hit the record button. And you'll notice that this will connect now. There's my app. And I get this recorder. So this thing actually is going to record all of my behaviors inside of... I know I keep saying... You caught me again. Yeah, Edge. Edge. I need to start calling this thing Edge. So one thing I could do, for example, is say when my application loads for the first time, it should have a button that has the text new trip on it. And I can say, notice the recorder, I clicked highlight element. This is just kind of like clicking inspect in your browser tools, but instead I'm using the recorder. And I've got highlight element selected, and now I can hover over any element on the page, and it's automatically detecting this is a Telerik UI for Blazor Telerik button. And I can then do any of these actions. So I can verify that its class is primary. I can say that it's has the text new trip. I can say, okay, let's do this. Element is visible. I'm going to click that. So I'm going to verify that the new trip button is visible. And we will hover again. And I'm going to verify that it says new trip. And then let's see what else I've got here. I can invoke a click. I can do all sorts of stuff. All right. I can even wait, because some things require like a trip to like a server to do things. So I could put waits and stuff in there. Don't know what extract is. I have to check that out some other time. There's all kinds of DOM stuff in here too that I can kind of pick at. Mouse actions, scroll actions, all that. Okay, so I'm done with this step. I've checked to see if my button is there on my initial load. So I'm going to go back. I don't even need to go to my recorder. All I can do is close the window. Close the window, and it's done. And now look at these steps are here. So it's going to navigate to the root, verify that the new trip button tag is visible, verify that text content contains new trip on the new trip button tag. And it also took a screenshot of that button. And I can do things like I can test between browsers, and I can say, does that button look the same on IE, Chrome, and Firefox? I said IE again, Eagle. I can say Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. Does that button look the same? I can do all kinds of tests like that. It's really neat stuff. So we'll keep this pretty basic, and I'll just rename the sample test here to new trip visible on first load. So we're going to check and make sure that the button is up on on first load. And now I can hit, I can click on the working area here, and I can hit execute. And it's going to say save. Yes, I'm going to save that. And watch, it's going to automatically open my browser, load the page, check and see if the button's there. Not bad, right? What if I wanted to do something much more complex, like this test? So this test has 21 steps on it. And what this does is it goes to the home page. Let's pull that guy back up. It is on localhost 5001. It clicks new trip. It checks to make sure that all of the initial values are there. Then it toggles between some of the values like so. And then it checks again to make sure that the proper values are set. So that's going to solve a lot of problems for me, because now I can change my logic. I'm using Blazor Server for this test, but you could totally use Blazor WASM too. It doesn't really matter. I could test sites that I don't own. So I could do a test like this, just to show you, because this test studio is independent of the code that's running there. I'm running that server on a back thread in my console, but I could actually do something like this. Let's see here, sample, and let's find something to test. Let's go find something to test. Let's see. So I could actually test your page here, Eagle, if I wanted to. And I could come into Test Studio and I could say, let's see, I'm going to record on this path. I could load your website, and then I would be able to say, does this text say that it is a testing component library for Blazor? So I don't need to run this on Blazor WebAssembly or Blazor Server to use it. It's no concern of Test Studio what technology you're using on the background. One thing that's cool about this, though, is you can actually set up, you can do a new project. You can test WPF apps. You can do responsive web testing. So you can check and see, nice one, Eagle. You can test your websites to make sure that they view correctly on different devices and browsers and things like that. You can do load testing, and you can have tests with manual steps in them. So you could have it open up, navigate to a location, have a user sit there and wait to interact with a certain piece of the application, and then check that it, verify that it has or hasn't passed that test manually, just in case there's no way to do it through code. Pretty neat stuff. So I could have totally tested the BUnit site with that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, though. I think you get the point. So I can run this test. Let me pull this base URL out of here. So let's execute that one. And we'll do this one. This is a... did I click it? I don't recall clicking it. Let's try this again. I need to get my base path back in there. It is localhost 5001. Yeah, like that. Just making sure it works. Put that back in there. And then we'll run this test again. to make sure I'm on step 1. We'll clear results just to make sure everything is good. I don't want to set breakpoints. Let's hit execute. And you'll see this fire up. Blazport, open the panel. It's going to select Mars. It's going to select Earth. Notice hands off here, by the way. I'm not touching a thing. It's doing it all on its own. And it's validated that all of those things have happened. Pretty cool. I used this back in the day when I was working at my old job. I don't write apps this big anymore, and I'm not responsible for testing things, so I don't use it personally anymore. But now I'm gonna be using it a bit for some Blazor stuff because I think it's gonna be nice to have some tests wrapped around some of my demo apps that I've been building. And then you'll notice too here, I can go in and change these things. So if something changes, let's say my form initialization, instead of, let's say, oops, that's not it. Yeah, this is that real simple test here. Nope, that's not it. That's this one. The one that looks for new trip. If I were to make a change in my app, let's go in here and say index.razor. And let's clear some of this out of the way so we can see better. So this should say new trip, and there should be an empty state here. Where is that empty state? Empty state. This is where that lies. Launch your next adventure is the text. And then I have a button template. Where does that button template go? It's on the actual index page, so I thought I had that abstracted away, but I don't. We're estimate trip options, book now, edit trip. Where's my button at? Oh, new trip, here it is. So if I change my new trip button to something like begin trip. So now I've changed my button. That test will fail. So let's go ahead and run that test again. It may not fail because I might have to recompile first. Yeah, I need to recompile. That's going to pass. Let's rebuild that project. I don't know if do I need to restart? I don't think I have to restart. I just need to rebuild. And it's building. That's the only downside to Blazor right now, am I right? Gary's Drive's downloaded Test Studio to check it out. It's really neat. It's really neat stuff. And then my project failed to build because it's running in the console. So let's kill this. .NET build. And then we'll run it again once it comes back up. It really sucks I have to do all this to rebuild an application and rerun it. I wish hot reloading was here. Ideally, you wouldn't use that situation with this tool anyway. But this is the developer life. You'd probably use this in a more of a QE role, or QA, I mean. QA role. I guess you could be a quality engineer. QE, QA, same difference. Don't be mad if I got that wrong. So now it should fail. So we'll execute that. So I just want to show something real quick here. It says begin trip now, and it's going to fail. See, I failed one of these tests, and you can see it actually tells me here too. So it says the content does not match. It says expected new trip value at failure was begin trip. So somebody's gone in and changed this button text. You can hook this up to different systems too to submit a bug, post issues, all that stuff. I don't have anything set up, but you could set up like your GitHub, like issues. You could set up, different backends to handle that if you wanted to. So the test failed, and you might be asking yourself right now, do I have to go and re-record that entire process again just because a button text changed? Nope. You can probably see the little icons over here. I can drop this down. I can change the comparison type. I can say contains trip. I can make it a little more generic. I could say exact. I could actually change the value here too. I could say begin trip. There's also timeouts that you can wait on. Like if you've got an asynchronous call that's fetching data from another endpoint or something before it gets displayed, you can actually await those things. So that's there as well. But now I've changed it. It should say begin trip. We'll save that and we'll run it again. And let's see what happens. It's going to check. Now they pass. The screenshot did not update. Not sure if I have to manually go in and delete that. Again, it's been a while since I've used it. I don't remember. Let's delete the image. I think you have to delete it. Yes, we'll save that and rerun it again. I just deleted it and it popped back up. Begin trip. So I need to look at why that hasn't refreshed, but oh, I deleted it off the wrong instance there. And I'm not doing a test to check the image. But I could. So you can actually test the image. Ah, come on. There it goes. So the images are gone. I may have to re-record actually, get those images back. I think that's what I have to do. Or there is a way to go get the image again. I cannot remember. It's been a few years since I've used this. But what that image is actually there for is you can save the image, and then you can go in and click through some of the... let's see if I can't pull it up now. I broke it. Let's see. Let's try another one. I can test this against... you can see it has a browser here. I can test it against different browsers to make sure that something renders the same across different browsers. Yes, Curious Drive's pointing out it's not dependent on the UI framework. There is benefits to the Telerik UI stuff. So there's built-in detection for the Telerik UIs, Kendo UI, Telerik UI for Blazor, and so on. And it will add hints for the test studio to pick up, but it does work on generic HTML no matter what your UI layer is made of. And like I showed earlier too, it works on WPF and those applications as well, which is pretty neat. I don't have any WPF applications I can run to show that though. I just don't do any WPF dev. It does cover WPF though. So I can test various things here. And this is easier than me having to go through and manually, check things over and over again. So that's nice. That's one way we can do tests. Again, this is a paid tool, so I won't sit on this too long. Been talking about it for about 30 minutes now. So won't dive in too much more unless somebody has a question about it. We might circle back to it and add some tests again later. For now, this is going to be it, though. And then just over here as well, if you want to I forgot to cover this. Like, if you want to manually add anything, you can. So you can add tests to this over here. And you can also check this out. Let's see what the code for this is. If I wanted to code this, I could say edit in code. And notice I get C# code. So if you're the code approach type of a person, you can code these up if you want to. If you don't want to do the recording bits that I just showed you, you can come in and set the code step attribute, tell it what to do, navigate. So you can say activate browser, navigate to, and then the next step is to go to the page and find the new trip button tag and click it. So it's able to do that as well. So you can hand code these up if you'd like to. And this is nice if there's, say, some kind of service or something you want to attach to and pull in some information. Customize the logic around this. You could write if-then statements around this stuff and control the process flow if you needed to. Totally customizable, which is great. So we'll close that. We don't need to do any hand coding of these things right now. So our tests are there. I'm going to close the app. I don't need it running anymore. And we're back in Visual Studio. We're going to write some tests here. Now, I don't know if Eagle's still around, but I might need some advice on unit tests for this stuff. That's what I haven't gotten to yet. I've added the bunit library. So if you are not doing bunit testing yet, you can get that by Googling bunit Blazor, or you can go to Eagle's website. Eagle Hansen, he's, I think he's one of the brothers. Which one are, I know it's spelled differently, but we're gonna pretend. Which one are you again, Eagle? The one in the middle. Oh, okay. Maybe not. All right. So let's see. I'm showing my age there. All right. bunit testing. I've installed this already. The one with the long hair. Let's see here. So I've installed this. You can grab it off of NuGet. I've installed it through the command line, so I have the template. So if I do .NET new, you will see that I have in here .NET new. I've got a bunit test project right there. So I've created a bunit test project using the, just follow the first 3 steps in the documentation and you're about where I am. You just pushed a new version. When? I just installed this, I think, yesterday. Let's double check. It doesn't show the version here, really? .NET new. Is there a way to list the version? Unit dash install help list name. Let me try that. .NET new dash N unit. It just listed everything again. It doesn't work like that. I don't know how to use command line. I'm terrible. Okay, so it creates a .NET 2.1 test library. Just add XUnit class. It looked like it was working fine yesterday. So you could see I've got it in a test project. I've just got the samples that came with it though. So I've got my counter and the coded test and the razor test. Kind of prefer the razor tests myself. I'm not bouncing these off of any of my own logic yet. I'm on 8 and I need to upgrade to 9. And you know that by looking. Oh, there we go. I'm at 8. Beta 8. Let's see here. I thought I did this yesterday. Maybe it was 2 days ago. Man, you're quick, Eagle. Let's see here. Updates. No packages found. Why? Does it not allow me to update that way? Oh, maybe I need to do pre-release? There we go. That was it. So I need to update all of these. Hell, we'll throw Fluent Assertions and .NET Test in there as well. We'll go bleeding edge on all the things. And it's angry at something. Let's see if this clears up. Let's do a rebuild. See if we still have any errors. Ah, succeeded. Okay, so we're up to the latest version now. We're up to beta 9. And I've got the test things, and then I've got a basic, this is just an XUnit test here. And this one goes through some very simple things with my drop-down boxes. So I'm testing the view model behind my drop-down boxes. And again, it's not bulletproof because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't have local hosts going anymore. As I mentioned at the top of the show, there was some state values that didn't quite carry over to the view model. So some of the lifecycle methods and things interfered with the actual like functional test that I needed to perform. So what this does is it's going to check, and when the page loads, this form gets initialized, it sets up the view model, and I get a brand new trip configuration view model. And on that trip configuration view model, I'm going to set the departure locations, which is this drop down here. And when I set that drop down value from some test data, so this is known data that I have, this is actually pulling from the DB context that I'm using. However, this is the seed method. So this is the same method that seeds my database, so I know it's static data. It's not something that a user can change and edit on the server. So it's not like pulling it from Cosmos or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and generate the locations from my seed data, that static data that I've got sitting in my DB context. And then I'm going to push that into my departure locations. And when I set this, then you'll notice that when I click this button, it automatically defaults to Earth, Cape Canaveral, the Earth's moon, and Sea of Tranquility. What it's basically doing is it's setting the first value of each of these. So it loads the list, and then it goes through and it finds the first item in the list and sets that as the default for each one of those dropdowns. And that's what I'm doing in this test. I'm saying when I set departure locations, those cascading dropdowns should flow through. And this one, the ID is a GUID, so it's going to, let's see, this one, I'm trying to think why these are empty. I wrote this yesterday, and this may actually fail. This might be a failing test right now. Let's go ahead and run these and see what it does. This was before I started using... Oh, and I've got an error here. Markup element with unexpected name. So maybe a using statement changed or something. Trip configuration form is blowing up. Or is this one of the, this is one of those false positives, I think. Let's do something really quick. Let's close all tabs. I'm going to reload my window here. I think the Razor compiler's going a little kooky again. Be nice when that new Razor tooling comes out, won't it? Go ahead and drop this. It was running, so I don't think there's an actual error. That's the wrong Visual Studio. Presentation mode. Blazport. And we should be able to load this back up, and that error will be gone, I guarantee it. So I've got my model. We can pull that up. And then I've got my unit tests. So I want to test, and I want to run these to validate that they're even good tests anymore. So it's running all 8 tests. I've got a bunch of tests in here. A couple are coming from the B-unit sample. And a few of them I wrote on my own, which may have changed. And I see some errors throwing here. And it is on, can I set the view model? Yeah, like I said, that empty state is a problem. That is not supposed to be an empty state, actually. I'll show you what I mean in a second here. So this test failed, which is a good thing. It is looking for a departure location ID of basically the null state of a GUID, but it found a known state right here. So that is actually validating something for me. That was validating that I correctly built a feature that I was working on. So that's a good thing. So here's the state I was in before the show started. I didn't mean to click that. If I run my application again, before I made this change, when you clicked on new trip or begin trip, the form was blank. So this would be GUID ID of 0, and this would be 0, and that would be 0, and that would be 0. I changed the code to automatically go ahead and select defaults when the form is loaded. And I haven't wrapped a test around that yet. So I've got the red failing test here initially. So what I need to do is when I generate these locations, they have a generated GUID, which is great for seeding a database. It is not great for unit testing because something that gets generated when every time you run it, you can't really test because it's going to be a random value, and you can't test randomness. So what I have to do here is I've set up some known GUIDs. And these are, I just generated these and just saved them into a static location here. And I need to inject those into the values I want to test. So what I'm going to do is say departure, the unit under test, departure location, departure locations 0 is going to be equal to GUID 1. And then I should be able to test for GUID 1, or sorry, the ID. I forgot the ID field on there. ID is equal to GUID 1. And I may actually want to go change this to do it before I set my locations, just to be safe. Let's do that. Let's make this test just a little bit better. Let's call this var data equals. We'll generate that array in this process here and set data dot location data. Yeah, it's all location data. So data first record is going to be ID equals GUID 1. And then we'll just set that to data there. And then we should be able to check and see that that is GUID 1. Now the arrival location will be the second item in the list. So I can say data 1 ID should be GUID 2, like that. And then I can test for GUID 2 here. Like that, and I don't know what this is yelling about. Oh, that doesn't belong. There we go. So now this should pass, except for these values here. These are going to be integers. So the records look like this. Let's go look at the records, because it's probably really confusing if you don't know what the records look like. If we go into data and look at our DB context, this is the seed operation. And you'll see GUID, the GUIDs get generated here. So I add the earth location, I gen a new GUID, which I said I can't use for testing purposes. So that gets thrown away and replaced with a known value. And then under ports, so these are our child records of Earth here, and it's going to go through and generate Earth ports. So I'm going to click on that. That's going to take me to this. The first ID there is 4. So that's going to be our next known value that we can test for. So this one should be 4. I'm going to put it in a comment temporarily so we can do a little fail mode test first. And then it's going to load the second location, which is the Earth's moon, and then generate the ports for that, and that is going to be 13. So we'll save that in a comment temporarily as well. So I've got 13. So this is going to fail because I'm checking for 0, and it should say it's going to fail because it found 4, but it's looking for 0, and then it found 13, but it's looking for 0. So we'll go ahead and rerun this test, expecting it to fail again. Just doing a little sanity check to make sure that our thought process is correct and failing our test before. Let's see, where's our test window? Yeah. So exactly what I thought it would be. Expected departure port ID to be 0, but found 4. And it didn't run the next test yet, or the next assert. So it blew before that second assert hit. So I can go ahead and change that to 4, and we'll remove the comment, and then I'll run this one more time, and it should fail with 13. And I'm doing the unit testing all annoying. Let's pin this. Instead of clicking that over and over again, what you can do if you want to run a unit test multiple times is set your filters here to, come on, click on the one I want. There we go. Set it to the failing test and just rerun it like that. It's much easier than clicking where I just clicked. So now it says 0 but found 13, just like I thought it would. So my assumptions are correct on those ID numbers. And if I run it again, it should disappear. And it passed, and it went into my passing pile right there. Little ask for some community help here. Has anybody ever seen this happen? If I go to live unit testing and hit start, it says click start to discover your unit tests. This is something I've done live unit testing before. This is new to me. I haven't seen this issue pop up. So if anybody knows what this is, please let me know. It says click start. It will not let me click start. I'm going to build the application, and that doesn't help. Check the output log. I will do that. Let's see if there's anything in output tests. It shows the last test I ran. It doesn't show anything else. If I clear this, let's try this again. Stop, start. Errors were logged. It disappeared. Errors were logged under. So there is an output. Okay, so let's check that. Thank you, Eagle. There's no path there. So it gives me an error output path. Build completed with failures. Where's... I don't have any build failures. So it may be something B-unit related. Let's try this. I'll go in and I'm going to drop these two tests, the B-unit test, temporarily. Exclude from project. I'll go ahead and rebuild the application. Succeeded. Build succeeded, tests, discovering no errors this time. And test, live unit testing window, we'll stop it and start it again. And now it's still doing it. So it's weird, like over here it says excluded from live unit testing. And I've never seen that come up before, and I can't figure out how to get it to go away. Really? That's not where I wanted you. So what I should be able to do is on my live unit testing, I should be able to add, they should be added automatically, but I should be able to add these. Let's try. That one's not even showing anything. Excluded from. Boy, it's being really picky. Let's try this then. Let me clean the solution. Stop unit testing. Start unit testing. Check the output. Building 4 projects. Live unit testing started and stopped. Build solution completed with features. Errors were logged under. And then there's no file in that diagnostics. Let's try that again. Oh, there it is. The build log's there this time. At least there's an error log this time. What does this say? Build manager. Some paths are absolute. Property base output evaluated to bin. I don't see how this is my problem. The type or namespace notification could not be found. Oh, so it can't even compile my Blazor code. So it's failing at the Blazor application compilation. So maybe that's what you meant, Eagle. Like, it won't even compile the app. It's weird. It'll run the, let's see, what is it failing on? What was that, an error message again? So it's failing to compile adminports.razor.cs. Notification could not be found. Uninitialized async, no suitable method. State has changed, does not exist in current context. It's all under my admin pages. Oh, it can't find the generated partial classes. But why does, like, I'm not asking because I think you'll know this. I'm just kind of throwing it out loud here. Why does why is it a different compiler for live testing than it is for unit testing? I guess because maybe live testing is testing something it's JIT compiling, and unit testing is grabbing the already built DLL files. Yeah, something's weird there. So I can't live unit test Blazor. That's annoying. With live unit testing, it'd be cool because what you can do is you can set up this test, and as I wrote these lines, it would automatically just run it, and I wouldn't have to keep doing this this cycle of, where did my test tab go? Queuing these up and testing them that way. Just being lazy, I guess. I don't know. Let's bring those excluded files back in. Yeah, so Eagle's saying there's like a kind of like a hot reload type of situation there. So it's not building those correctly for some reason. Yeah, I think it's good to file an issue. Control R, Control T also reruns tests, Eagle says. Good tip there. Let's see. I need to unhide these files, and I need to include them back in. I know they're samples, but I want to go off those samples, and we get, this is the type of error that that the live unit testing is probably seeing. I'm going to close live unit testing out just so it doesn't inadvertently crash things behind the scenes and cause a bunch of like memory leaks or something. We'll go ahead and drop that back, and we should be able to, let's rerun all of our tests. 2 succeeded, nothing failed on the build, and we should have multiple tests passing. And I got nothing. I don't have them hidden anymore. Why am I getting nothing? Oh, because when I ran it, I didn't have that selected, so I actually ran no unit tests. So they all pass now. So I fixed my basic unit test. Just to go over some stuff here for those that may be new to unit testing. Let me comment this unused code out real quick. I'm using something in here that I really enjoy called Fluent Assertions. That is what gets me this syntax of should be. I always mess up assert. I just notoriously screw this up. Assert dot I never know what I'm supposed to use here, and then the order of which it is supposed to be used. So if I'm testing a Boolean value, etc., I need to know like what that test is going to be before I start writing the assert code. I don't know if I'm supposed to do equal for this. I can never remember these. So it's it would be like UUT dot... Oh, wait, that's expected. So you always do that. I did it backwards. So I expect 4 to be equal to UUT dot departed location dot ID. No, I did that wrong. Be GUID. My bad. I looked at the line below it. So these two lines are identical. Like that. These two things do the exact same test. This doesn't work with my brain well. This second one, assert equals GUID1 is equal to the ID of the departure location. I would rather just point at the thing I want to test and say unit under test, departure location ID should be GUID1. That reads a heck of a lot easier for my brain than the mess that I showed you before. So whenever I'm doing unit testing, the very first thing I do after I create a new project for it is I install Fluent Assertions on that project. It is something I should probably just have a Fluent Assertions project template. That's how much I use it. I always use Fluent Assertions to the point where I even make jokes on Twitter about it. I'm going to share some stupid Twitter dad joke that I did this morning just because I thought it was funny. It's very topical too. It's very much my type of humor. Let's see here. Yeah, so this was a tweet from this morning. If you only have one test and it passes, you can go ahead and put 100% code coverage sticker on your repo. So I responded with ship it. True should not be false. And I said, yes, I'm using Fluent Assertions in a joke on Twitter. So respond as you please. I will go through the effort of installing Fluent Assertions to make a one-line humorous post. That's just me. That's how I think. That's my thought process. Fluent Assertions is at the top of my list for test stuff. Looks like I was using this method of setting up my tests all the way through. I'll just go ahead and change this out real quick. Control RR is refactor, and then I'm going to change that to locations. Now everything should be good. Name the same there. These unit tests go through the same operation. This one sets the view model, checks to see if everything was correct. This one makes sure that if I select the first item, then the departure location matches. This one is called should not enable duplicate departure and arrival location. So what this unit test does, and this is covered by my end-to-end tests in Test Studio as well. Eagle says, I use shouldly, similar library, prefer the Fluent style of API assertions as well. Yeah, shouldly and Fluent, I think, are almost identical, like to a T. I don't think there's a whole lot of differences in shouldly. I think Fluent might be a little more agnostic. I can't remember. One was more than the other, but it's like very trivial amounts of like dependencies it needed. So this is a very wordy test. What this does, and it, like I said, it does it in Test Studio as well. So in my app, and I don't know why, my browser gets focused sometimes over Visual Studio when it shouldn't, but I just refreshed my chat stream. When I load this panel, when I select the departure location, it determines what the arrival is, because what I don't want my users to do is select, I don't want them to be able to select Earth twice. I don't want them to depart from Earth and land on Earth. You can call Delta for that. Like we're going interstellar here. So I want this to be like the primary list. So if I select Mars, then Mars should disappear from the second list. So my second test here, and again, this is reflected in Test Studio to make sure that it's covered in a integration test as well. But it says should not enable duplicate departure and arrival location. So it's going to go through and set up the first item. And then this is going to be the Earth item. It's going to select that item. And then after it selects that item, it will go through the arrival locations, and there is a little link query here that says that the ID, there should not be an ID in this collection that contains that GUID ID from here. I'm really botching up the explanation of this. Let me back up just a little bit and annotate it here. It's saying that the ID that I select here, this GUID ID 1, it should not be contained inside the other dropdown called arrival locations. So it does that by just getting the ID value from that array and then checking to see if that array contains that GUID value of the ID of Earth. So if I select Earth from dropdown box 1, then Earth should not appear in dropdown box 2. So that's that test coverage. So if I change any of my form logic later, I want to catch that if for some reason I put a regression into the system that allows me to do that. So there's some validation there. This one detects that a location is picked by default. So if I choose Earth's moon, then I set automatically a departure port, and then my, just that value changes there. So I'm checking to make sure that I'm always setting a port for that. So that's what that does. And then this one just says should. I think I need a description here. Or no, I think this is I stubbed out something and I never used it. So that's a invalid test that can go away. I think that's where I stopped. And I was trying to put my head around what I had to test to see if if I had an issue, it's gone now, where if I selected a different location here, the port would stay the same because of the ID numbers. And I fixed that, and it wasn't detectable. I had a unit test that was there, and it wasn't detectable through unit test. It just didn't show up. It passed no matter what I tried. And then I found out that it was something going on in the UI layer that I couldn't test from the abstraction that I have. So my view model is abstracted away from that rendering logic, so it never picked it up. So the correct values were being set in the view model. The potential error there was if I were a user changing between these frequently, I might see what would essentially be, it says Mount Sharp correctly here, but it would actually say something like Cape Canaveral. The user would see text that is incorrect, and then when they would hit the estimate trip button, it would submit the proper ID values, and it would show different outputs here than what they just saw in the form, which is very confusing to a user. So while the end result would have been correct, the user would have been confused. So it would have gone pretty much undetected until somebody complained about it, type of a thing. And that is something that's being troubleshot by our team to see if that is a Blazor issue, Telerik UI issue. We have known issues posted and workarounds suggested for that in the meantime. So it's fixed. Can't find it in unit test. Found it with this tool here, where this process runs on the cascading drop downs and does a little dance of selecting different items and checking to see if the values had changed properly. So got it there. It's covered in the end-to-end, so I don't need to write another test here for it, because it's a false positive anyway. False negative? False positive. Is it a false positive if it passes and fails in the wild? I don't know. All right. So I don't have any component tests yet. So that's what I want to spend like the next half hour on, is adding some component tests. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly I should nail down for a B unit test here. I have, let's go to edit trip. I need to check, let's see, what should I test here? I've got that coverage in my end-to-end, but it wouldn't hurt to have some component tests here as well, just to make sure that this form renders correctly. So one thing I could probably do is test the form outright. This is going to take some setting up, and there's some potential issues that may arise because I've never done this before, and I need to figure out where exactly to start with all of it. So let's try this. If I'm on this page here, if I render this component, this is my, if I go into components, this is my, it's not a flyout panel, that's the wrong one. It is, let's try something a little simpler. Let's do the index page. And let's say that, let's kind of copy some of my integration tests here, just to get a feel for things. And I'm going to do the C# test, razor test. I like these. This is the way I like to do it. So I'm going to mark up this example, and we'll try to get everything working in here. So I want to test a component. I want to test my index. I don't know if I need to like put a using statement here or not. I'll just say that I want my index page, and the expected output for that. That's going to be some complex output, I believe. Because that would contain everything. Does it? Now, Eagle, I don't know if you're still there. If I'm testing something like a component at the page level, is this going to test, is this going to, I guess it's going to render the entire thing with the layout included, isn't it? So this would be, would it take the head and everything and dump that into the rendered output? Or is it only going to be the component without the HTML information around it? What are we rendering? So it would essentially be, let's see what the index page, not sure, actually try running it from the creator himself. I don't use it, I just make it. You'll get a very detailed error message. I think you're running me through the ringer, my friend. You're like, you put me through the paces. Like I'm not answering that. You do it and see what happens. Expected output, we'll say H1 is hello world, because we're gonna get an output here that is an error, and I'm gonna try to comment out this the fixture, right? So the snapshot's gonna be the first, or do I have this backwards? I think I might have this backwards. Which one's which here? So the snapshot is, the counter starts at 0. This is the initialization phase. And then the fixture is after the click, right? Fixture get fragment. Fixture. So I think, all right, so let's do this. If I wanted to set up just the initialization side of this equation, if I do component under test is going to be index. And it's throwing a fit. System.index, really? It's going to be blaze port dot pages dot home dot index, just to make sure I got the right one, and I gotta spell things right. Okay. Snapshot just compares the input and the output. So I'm just going to do that first. It's going to keep it easy. So we'll take the fixture part down. We'll do a quick snapshot, make sure that our index page renders correctly, and let's see what it throws at me. I'm not going to click any buttons here. Insert that the counter. I'm not going to do that. Do I need to do anything in this scenario? Do I just... Why does it keep messing with my formatting? Jeez, you put a few comments and this thing goes bananas. So Snapshot's going to automatically assert the input and output. I don't have to write any additional code. Do I even need the logic here? I think a lot of things have just changed since I've used this last. Okay, so I don't even need that. I'll just take this out for now. We'll delete that. We'll take that out. We'll take that out. I believe I can find this easily on your website if I want to. We'll save that. And then thanks for playing along, Eagle. I'll make sure that I provide the same service for you sometime. I will come in and make sure you know how old you are. Alright, so I'm as old as I feel today is what you're telling me. Alright, Solution Explorer, Test Runner, I need my Test Runner. Test Runner Explorer, let's run, we'll just do all the tests again. What the heck. I expect this to fail miserably. Right. So, invalid operation. Cannot provide a property from trip cross service. type of blah, blah, blah. There's no service. So I need to register my services here. So that is my first line of business, is my index page has some services that it depends on. So if I go to my pages and I open up my home index, I don't see any service resolution in here, and that's because it is coming from my shared folder in my main layout. It has the Telerik root component in here. There's a setup parameter, Eagle says. So there's a setup parameter. This is performed before. So I would imagine this is a code block and a void handle setup, like so. An action matches snapshot test. Like that. So that is my setup, and we've got some live docs here right from the source. All right. So setup is going to do that, and then I have my example here. Great documentation, by the way, Eagle. Good job with the docs, man. Really good job. So it's going to look something like that. I'm going to use this naming convention. I like that better. Let's see. So this is a type of fixture. And then I can say fixture dot services dot add. I'm trying to remember what type this is. Add. Oh, I gotta look at another set of docs here, because I know it's because I have Telerik stuff. Oh, scroll down for the snapshot example. My bad. I grabbed the wrong one. My mistake. All right, so I was on the right track, I guess, with the naming conventions. Snapshot test. You just called it test there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and use that. And I have kids home from the kids are doing remote learning here in the States. And it is lunchtime here, and they are cooking up something that smells fantastic, and it's driving me crazy. It's very distracting. I'm getting really hungry. This is going to keep formatting badly, I think, until I fix this. Services. Oh, what is the deal with these code blocks today? This is obnoxious. I want my code block to format correctly. Stop going nuts. It's going to keep throwing it up there. Wow, I haven't seen this happen before. It's just obnoxious. So I can't use my control keys to format that. Test.services.add, and then I need to look at what services I'm adding. Blogs.telerik.com. I have a blog post I can go to on this. bunit. Using bunit. Code first tests are being used in here, but it's the same idea. I need to set up I need these services. Add server-side Blazor, I think is what I need. me try something really quick. So I may actually be able to do this. Telerik root component. So I'm going to try adding my Telerik root component there. And then I'm going to wipe this out real fast and just see if that alone, whoops, see if that alone solves the issue. And then I've got this, of course, up here ready to yell at me. Let me delete that. Using Microsoft dot extensions dot dependency injection. And then I'll put that back in a second. I just want to double check here. I think you're saying no, this won't work, but this module here is going, or this component will, yeah, it still cannot find a value for trip cost service. Oh, trip cost service. So that's what I need. So now I need to do that. Setup and let's do setup async just in case I need async. And then I'll go back and add a handler for that code. Task async task handle setup of snapshot test, call that test dot services add, then I'll look at my application now. Ooh, I have lots of services here. This could get messy really quick. I have a scoped trip configuration. I have, which one did it say it needed? What service is it missing? Too many windows. Trip cost service. I need a trip cost service. Trip cost service. Oh, that's my prediction service. So I need to steal this out. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, that's fun. So this service requires a lot of stuff. The setup for that service is a pain. So I need using system.io because this has a file read in it. And this actually goes out and finds a zip file to read, believe it or not. Should just be added through this setup. Oh, was there? Yeah. So that I don't have a www root directory here. Let's see here. If I take the file from here, this is I could mock this. This is where some mocks might come in handy. For now, I'm going to take the real deal. And just put it in there. Add a folder, data, and we'll plop that in there. So we're going to look for data. look for that path. And then I need services. This is going to be test dot services. Add singleton. I need my, oh, nope. Is it capital services? Services. I'm a little dense, so maybe I'm doing this wrong. I don't know. At using Blazor, Blazport dot Blazport dot shared no. Blazport, oh, I need to add. I'm missing a reference. In my tests, I have not added a reference to my services layer. So I'm going to add a reference. Dependencies, add a project reference to the service layer. Hit OK. And now I should have Blazport.services trip cost dot service. That's the namespace. And I don't need the semicolons there. All right, so now I've got my services. And I'm realizing that this doesn't do anything asynchronous, so setup should have been fine. I don't have any method calls in that. So I'll do void handle setup. That looks right. Thank you, Eagle. Thanks for the confirmation. And I'm so used to hitting Control F5. There I go again. Test Explorer, and we will run the current test. And I'll probably get the same error just for a different service. Cannot provide a property value of state on type index, no registered service for trip configuration state. Okay. We're solving problems here. We're in the right direction. Now I need to get my trip state, trip configuration state. So I will copy that line out, and I will add that to my tests. And we will do the same thing here. Test dot surfaces. And then I have a trip configuration state, which comes out of using Blazor, Blazport dot, shoot, where's that namespace coming from? Home, pages home, trip configuration state. If I add that, I can actually remove this as well. So now I have the namespace for that. And then before I click the wrong button again, I'm going to go ahead and hit run that test again. And we'll weed through these until we get resize listener. So... oh, this is going to be tricky. I don't know if that's going to work. This has an old version of what is it called? Blazor size. I need to update that really badly. This has a very old version of Blazor size, so I need a resize listener, which requires JavaScript. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Test services again. And then that is part of Blazor size. Using Blazor size. Yeah. That is such an old reference, it doesn't even have the new namespace on it. I really need to change that up. That will be our show next week. I promise. And then we'll go to Test Explorer again and rerun. And let's go through the services as we need them. Localizer. This is going to be the Tellerk stuff. So there is a Tellerk UI for Blazor. Add Tellerk Blazor. That is our next service. And I think that will have the I localizer in it. Control, what is it? Control R. I know you gave me this earlier. Control R. I lost that part of chat. Elliot, this is still on Core 3.0. This is a server-side Blazor app. I haven't tried migrating this off to the latest version yet. Really? I don't know where the system.index thing came in, but system.index is being a pain. Saying I have an ambiguous reference here. We'll go ahead and put that back. Seriously, no. All right, Test Explorer. Just run that again. Control RL. Let's repeat last test. Control RL. Ah, HTML comparison fails. Counter starts at 0. This is the description. Okay, I need to change that. That's what you were talking about earlier. The div at element h1 is missing. Div 0 was not expected. And here is the actual HTML. And now we're in the right direction. So I get this output. Boom. That goes there. So when I first load my app, an empty state is shown on the initial load. Okay. So now I can do, yeah, I can highlight this again. It's Control RL. These are not hotkeys I use a lot. Okay, that doesn't work. Why doesn't that work? I don't know. I click the button like a monkey. And look, I got a passing unit test. So this answered my question, Eagle, since you played like you didn't know. When I render my index component, it renders only the component and not the surrounding HTML that comes from the layout. The layout is not rendered in the test. So no layout is rendered, only the component is rendered. Been considering migrating an app to .NET 5, mostly because I've seen some cool stuff. Possibly creating new instances of DB context. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I ran into conflicts deciding to wait a while. I don't know what's new with DB context, so it'd be cool to maybe if you have a blog post or something we could look at on what they do there. The benefits, Elliot, I think for .NET 5 are definitely going to be the speed. Speed is going to be kind of a sticking point with 3.0 and a very good solid reason to move to 5. However, we're back in the beta cycle, and I personally don't want to be in that right now. I've got too much on my plate to handle all the breaking changes and all that type of stuff. So I'm kind of waiting to November before I jump on that bandwagon. Yeah, Eagle, I like this approach as well. Trying to test all of the markup that would come with the layout to be HTML soup and make this nearly impossible. So this works very well. One thing I'd probably do personally here is maybe take this and put this in a static class somewhere so I don't have to keep hitting these same services all over again. every time I want to render those out. But other than that, I like the setup here. I think I need this root component. I'm going to try pulling it off here just to make sure. I think I need it, but I'm going to try it without. I did Control F5 again. Such a habit. Holy cow. I cannot break myself in that. We'll rerun that last test again and see if I even need that root component. I do. Teleroot component requested requires the root view component. So I need that. I need an imports page here too. So say using teleroot.blazor.components, not common, components. So that can go away. So I can just say Teleroot root component from now on. And then Blazor pages home index. I don't understand this conflict it keeps saying it's having. Let's try that again. Moving that namespace. It kept saying that there's system.index versus index. It figured it out. The compiler figured it out. It passed again. So this is the identical test. This was kind of a long learning experience again. I haven't done this in a while. Actually, I'm going to pull out. I'm going to pull all these out because I feel like I'm going to use these multiple times. And we'll drop those in here as well, just to clean this up a little bit. And now we have counter razor test that needs a change. This is going to be our index test. And Blazor is, the Razor compiler is very unhappy that I renamed a file. So let's go through some gyrations to clean that up. We'll do a clean solution. I may have to go in and delete some bin folders. Rebuild solution. Now it's compiling, and I should be able to run all tests. I've rebuilt. I'll run all tests. It's picking up the new test names, I think. Nope, counter razor test is still in there, even though I changed the name of it. So this is a thing. This is a Blazor thing. It's a little pain point. I need to go in and I need to, let's see, I need to do a view folder on this. I could do this from another view as well, but I'm going to do it here. I'm going to say in here, show me all the files and dump the bin and the object folder. Just trash those and make it recompile everything from scratch. And that should get rid of the ambiguous zombie component that is floating around in here. Let's kill all tabs. Test Explorer, and then build has started. Expand this a little bit so we can see better. Eagle says, wife is saying dinner's ready. Go get some dinner, my friend. Thanks for joining me on the show and all the help getting your amazing unit test library up and running, as usual. It's really cool, and I've seen a lot of good feedback about it. So congratulations on that, and have a nice dinner, my friend. So yeah, we're testing Blazeport Genescu. Speaking of food, I'm about ready to go have some lunch. Family has smelled up the house with lots of yummy things, and I am getting really hungry myself. It's about lunchtime here. So I'm going to do a raid here in just a minute. Just wanted to double check here. All my tests are passing. So I have a traditional unit test with XUnit. So I have several tests under that. It tests my view model. So I have my view model test here. Trimp configuration, really? Trimp configuration. TRIP trip configuration. My trip configuration test. This tests my drop-down form in all of the associated views with that. So all the drop-down boxes there. Let's do another. Let's Control F5. We'll do a quick review of what we've done. For the folks that just joined us here, I think Janescu just joined, so we'll give a recap of what we've got going on here. So I have a test that covers the form, and I have a integration test that will go through and check to make sure all these drop downs do what they're supposed to do with the cascading values. I also have a unit test that covers the same form to make sure that before it even hits the Blazor lifecycle, that all of the code is up to snuff. There is a B unit test that checks to see if the empty state is this trip begin button and kind of the surrounding HTML. So if I click on this and I hit estimate trip cost, the empty state is now gone. Empty state is something that you show when there's no data entry yet. So the empty state is being tested in B unit. And I have end-to-end tests that test the form and test the output of a default form, and also check the text on the default state of begin trip. So we'll look at those tests again real quick. Let's see here. I don't know what save is pending on that, but I have a test project. This is Teller Test Studio. So to run Teller Test Studio, what I need to do is go to my control panel or my console. Oh, okay. We'll have to check that. Did the bot squash the link? Oh, there it is. Thanks, Elliot. I meant to recap on that as well. Blazor server with any framework core. Database access. Creating new DB context instances. I'll have to take a look at this in a bit. I'm using Entity Framework Core on this app, but I'm using it in with Cosmos DB. So things may be a little different, but thanks for the link. I'll have to go back and revisit that and see if there's a better way to do what I'm doing. So in Teller Test Studio, what I can do is, let's see, this is the initial load test, and it's going to open my application and check and see if it says begin trip. I first need to open it in the CLI. So let's do cd repo, no, source repo, Blaze port, and this is my app, and I can do .net run, and this will run my application. So this is going to spin up my app on a server, and it's going to give me my localhost 5001. Then I can come into Teller Test Studio, and I can come in here and I can say execute this test. Yeah, we'll go ahead and save that. I don't think I did anything there, but we'll save it anyway. This is going to fire up my app, and it's going to test and say that begin button was there. I can also test my cascading drop-downs. Is there a test all? I'm still a little new to this one. I don't remember how to run all the tests consecutively. We'll do them one by one here. So I'm going to go into my next test. And in this test, this will test all my cascading drop-downs to ensure that they are opening and selecting the correct things. That failed. The failure may have been, I'm going to clear that. It happened a little quickly. It may have been time related. It was. So that can happen sometimes with these browser tests. Is they can load a little too quickly, and they can fail a test. And you can put timeouts in there to fix that. That's something that I could add through the UI here. I'm trying to remember where that's at. So I could put a wait in here. Wait on, instead of the global settings. So there's a wait, global setting, and then there's an individual setting as well. That if I run into that error multiple times, I can come in and set a timeout to wait for that. But basically, I can just come in here and run, and you can see it. I've got all hands off here. It's going to run through and click those drop downs for me, and then validate that the values are what they're supposed to be. So that's cool stuff. That's all happening on its own, and then I can test to see if I can validate a successful form post. So it's going to go through, and that was very quickly done. So Test Studio went through and it opened up the home page, clicked the new begin trip button, and then clicked estimate trip cost, and validated that this estimated price was shown. So that just did a integration test there to make sure that my form works and my machine learning model is present and is returning the desired output. So that is useful information from a integration test. So I've got the integration test, and then in Test Explorer here, I've got my UI test and my unit tests. We'll go ahead and run those again just to make sure. I rename some things, make sure they're all working properly. So this is getting some tests now. Well, I'm going to keep building some tests on this. We also need to do, so Test Studio has the capability of doing a responsive web test. So if I click on responsive web test, what I can do is I can record. If you didn't catch this earlier, all these tests that I built with the recorder. And the recorder allows me to open the browser and record a test. Kind of like a macro. And this one, you can see it is loading a responsive template. So it's going to check and see if the page is loaded correctly for a smaller device. So let's close that. And I'm not going to go through setting up the whole test, but essentially you can do a responsive web test and you can check it at various sizes and whatnot. So we'll add some of those next time around. I'm not going to add that right now. Just wanted to show that it's a thing we can do. So I may add some responsive web tests to this and make sure that the responsive behaviors are working correctly. Is Test Studio hooked into DevOps? Yes, you can hook it into DevOps. So I'm not quite a pro at this yet, but what you can do is, for example, if there is a failure, you'll get a button that says submit issue, and you can click that and log that directly into like GitHub and those type of things. You can connect to, let's see if it's in here. You can connect to TFS and Git. There's all sorts of stuff in here that I'm just not totally like a pro at. But you can connect to pretty much anything in this. You can run performance tests. You can do all sorts of stuff. But there are hooks in there for your server and whatnot for CI/CD, and there's ways to automate this. And thanks, Curious Drive, for the link. It's Telleric Test Studio. Again, that is a commercial product. This isn't meant to be a product pitch. It's just something I'm using, so I thought I'd share what it is. These are all coded as well, so you can go in and you can open the code for all of these if you want to write code for them. You can add manual inspection points and all sorts of neat stuff here. So if anybody's interested in that for using that for work or anything, just ping me, let me know. I'd be happy to connect you with people that know a little bit more about it than I do. I'm trying to get into it again. It's been a few years since I've used it, and I was impressed with it back then. I just haven't had time since I've been at Telleric to focus on anything but the UI components. And now that Blazor's kind of hit full stream and I'm building a lot of demo projects, I wanted to use Test Studio to test them out. And do some end-to-end testing on my demos. So I thought I'd give it a try again. And so far it's pretty cool. And I thought I'd share that today. Let's go ahead and raid somebody. We'll pick up on our Blazeport project again next week. Maybe some Blazing Coffee as well. Those are two really great demos that I'm going to keep going and building new features into. Close out some of the... Gosh, I have so many windows open. Let's raid. And we've got Freestyle Coder. We've got Clark EO. We've got Chef Brent. The Unreal Engine. Lots of great people to raid today. Let's go ahead and say hi to my friend Chris again. We've been raiding him, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. He's a really good friend of mine, and help him to get his channel up and running. He's streaming about the same time as me, and we'll go visit him again. Say hi to Chris for me, Mr. Freestyle Coder. So we'll start that raid. Thanks again for joining me this week. I will be back next week. Same time, same place, same channel, and then there's the Code It Live channel as well. So let's go say hi to Freestyle Coder.